It is Market Monday time. Liz Acuff and I talk about annexation over in Beaufort. There's two articles this week, kind of opposing commentary. One says institutional investors are getting out of the rental market. The other one says rental prices are going up. Why would they be getting out of the rental market if rental prices are going up? We have Brian Nuemann stop in to talk about mortgage with us this week on Market Monday. All right, numbers this week for Hilton Head Island. What'd you think?
Well, it looks like we're a little bit down from the previous week, but significantly down since last year.
Yeah. So, those that watch every week know that I look at, the first number I look at is inventory for the week 19. Last week we were at 27. This week last year, 47. So inventory significantly down.
Yes.
But then I flip it over and I look at see how many went under contract, 39. So those doomsday people that are out there that's saying that the market is going to crash, this week we put 19 properties on the market and we sold 39.
Right.
39 and we only put 19 on the market. That is a market of the inventory is continuing to shrink.
Correct.
Week after week after week, inventory is shrinking. Without inventory, can this market crash?
No. It's actually going to start holding prices.
Yeah, I think it's going to force prices up higher, right? My argument is what the Fed is doing is forcing people to stay put in their house. And that means less inventory, and less inventory means higher prices. So at least in our local market, I don't know what's happening in Texas or California, but I know here in the low country that's what we're seeing right now. Year to date, average price is up 18%. And days on the market, the time it takes to sell a property, down to 37.
Yeah, which is great.
Unbelievably low. So Wall Street Journal says they're seeing a trend where more people are renting right now. Are you seeing that trend?
I think it's with the inventory also being low. I think that's kind of an option that people are going to as well. But I have seen that people aren't getting approved as frequently as they have been in the past, so it is forcing that rental market to stay very strong over here.
Yeah, it looks like two things are happening, right? People are not getting approved because their payment is a lot more, because to buy the same house costs them more in interest as that portion of their payment. And so their payment's a lot higher than it would have been, a year ago, 6 months ago. So that's the first thing. The other thing is standards are getting harder. It's getting more difficult to borrow money right now.
Yeah, the banks are tightening up.
They are. They don't want to make bad loans, do they? The next article is from Yahoo Finance. Yahoo! Quick to enter the market, institutional investors now shedding single-family home rentals. It kind of disputes the Wall Street article, but this is saying that there's a lot of institutional investors that are shedding their inventory. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I still am seeing investors come in.
Yep.
In our neighborhoods and things like that. So I think that here it might be a little bit different. I do agree that they are shedding some here and there. I do see some coming back on the market, but our rental market for short-term rentals is so high that I think that we actually see that a little bit more here than we in other areas too. So the investors are keeping those because the return on their money is much greater here than in some other places. I think.
This article is contemplating institutional investors, so big corporations that are buying neighborhoods or building neighborhoods solely for the ability to rent them.
When they're developing neighborhoods like that too.
Developing neighborhoods, that as well. So have we seen a lot of that in our area? These big companies basically coming in with a blank checkbook and saying, we're going to buy every house in Bluffton that comes on the market that has these parameters. So less than 10 years old, in this square footage range, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I think there are some. There's some pockets like that where the investors are coming in, and in that lower price range too.
Yeah.
So anything that's under that 400 range, that typically grabs the eye of an investor because of course they're going to turn around and rent it too. So.
Yeah. I just wonder in the article, they don't come right out and say it, but I think if you're going to lump the institutional investors together, I think companies like Open Door that were basically buying properties just to flip them. So they're buying them. If the market looks good, they're holding them, renting them, flipping them, all those kind of things. if you haven't heard, they're having a lot of problems right now. Zillow got out of the business, took a multi-billion-dollar write-off. Open Door is not having a good time with it. OfferPad is not having a good time with it. Those are the iBuyer models. How much of that is reflected in this? Because, if we look at the Wall Street Journal article, they say that rental income is way up. That market is really tight. Like, why would they want to dump those properties if that's the case and they're basically at max occupancy? So the two articles kind of oppose each other. Did you read the article in the, I think it was in the Island Packet, about the Beaufort couple that were trying to annex that property into Beaufort? It sounds like they were trying to do it so that they could get a dock approved.
Correct.
What's your thoughts on that?
So, I understand the concerns behind that, because if you have pockets of places here and there that are under city versus county and things like that, it is true that, EMS and fire trucks, all those, fire departments, they don't know which one is theirs necessarily if something happens. So, and also just trying to get around something to actually put a few more feet on your dock, I think that's a little bit crazy. So.
Yeah, so what the article alluded to was unincorporated Beaufort County was a little bit more restrictive in terms of what you could do for a dock and get approved. If you fell under Beaufort, there's basically a length limit in Beaufort County, unincorporated. But if they moved and the property is annexed under Beaufort, that would go away and they could likely get the dock approved. Don't you think it's a town's objective to increase their tax base? Like, to have this property as part of their tax base? Playing devil's advocate, wouldn't that, help the community?
Well, it would, but I think there's also some other concerns they brought in, like the wetlands, things like that also comes into play when they started to stretch that dock out further. So I think that there is some concern. We do have a very good preservation here in Beaufort County, so they're very aware of what that ecosystem does. So I think that played a part of it too, of them not actually annexing that property.
Yeah. All right, it's time for our Mortgage Minute. Let's get Brian Nuemann in. All right, Brian, we were just talking about the article in the Wall Street Journal that says more people are renting right now because they can't, number one, afford the higher payment, and number two, it's tougher to get a loan now than it was a year ago. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, unfortunately, the qualification thing's real. With interest rates jumping up 3 to 4 points over the course of a year, it drastically increased the cost of the housing payment, makes it harder to qualify because you're looking at existing housing payment for qualifications.
Yeah.
Also, I think it finally did tip the edge of some of the rent versus own, which one was more affordable.
Yeah, so the Wall Street Journal says that they're expecting rents to go up 10 to 14, 15% year over year when the November 2022 numbers hit. That they'll be 14% higher than they were last year. But we know here on Hilton Head Island, property values went up by 19% year over year. And in Bluffton, it's in the mid-20s, right? So it is more affordable, I think, for people to rent. But my concern is the purchase market's going to get away from them.
Yeah, they're looking at just the short-term affordability
in the short term.
So, definitely if you can get into the loan now, as we've been talking over the last few months, marry the house, date the rate, refinance down the road. And finally, we have started to see some things with the core inflation number starting to peak down, that the interest rates are starting to ease up a bit.
Okay. And so you think the worst of this is behind us?
Yeah, I think we've probably hit our high-end numbers. How long it'll take to actually drop will be seen, but I do think, the more forward pressure is going to be downward, as we get going into the new year.
It's interesting, let's say, the Federal Reserve is trying to really affect property values by raising interest rates. And here in this local market, I just see that it's done the opposite. We were just reporting the Hilton Head numbers this last week. We had 19 properties come on the market for sale on Hilton Head Island, but we sold 39.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we sold 39 and that's already at a super, super low inventory level. And so the inventory is just continuing to shrink and it's forcing prices up. And it's it's a little bit of a perfect storm for first-time buyers, where prices are just shooting through the roof here on Hilton and Bluffton.
Yeah, it looks like our market's one of those ones with such tight inventory. It doesn't matter what the Federal Reserve's doing. Demand is still, outweighing supply hugely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve raising interest rates did not stop people wanting to move here.
No.
Right?
No.
You get a second to answer?
I do.
Let me answer this week's mailbag.
Sure.
I'd love to have you help me answer this because you're not a real estate agent. But I'd like your take on it as a mortgage broker. So Stephen S. asked Dan, what will it take to succeed as a new agent in 2023? So as an outsider to actually selling real estate, what do you think?
I mean, I think first is, you got to make it your career, not just dip your toe in and try and do something else on the side and build real estate. I think you also need to link up with somebody who's going to train you and help you learn and understand the market in the industry.
Yeah.
To me, it's always the true professionals are the ones that have the staying power, and you've got to make it, you've got to get your goals set with theirs and be realistic, but work hard and team up. Get with an organization that's going to train you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So the first thing that I would say to somebody that asked me that question is you need to have a goal.
Yeah.
Right? You need to have a goal that is very strong to you, that you're driven to achieve. Sometimes it's talked about as your why. You need to have your why in a goal. And then once you have your goal, a plan to hit your goal. And then I would say, yes, as a new agent, you need to connect with somebody, with a team that, number one, will train you.
Yes.
But number two, once you're trained, help put opportunities in front of you to be successful.
Yes.
The hardest things to do in this business is create opportunities.
Yes. Yeah.
A good team will create the opportunities for you and help you build a business. So get your why, set a goal, build a plan, get good training, and get hooked up with somebody that can help create opportunities for you. That'd be my advice, Stephen. Thanks so much for stopping in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping in today and going over the numbers with us. What's going on in your world? Anything anybody needs to know about there that's coming up?
Well, so this weekend is the tree lighting and Christmas parade for Bluffton.
Ah, cool.
So tree lighting's Friday night, and then Christmas parade is Saturday. That's always a lot of fun. And bring the family out. It's a great activity.
Will you be out there?
I will be.
All right, so she's out there.
At the corner of Gerard.
Yeah. All right, thank you. I'll see you next week.